Wow!
The Oscars. Once the ultimate stamp of Hollywood prestige. A night when legends were crowned, careers skyrocketed, and the world held its breath to see who would clutch that little golden statue. It was cinematic royalty, where the best of the best were recognized, not just for playing a role, but for defining an era.
I'm flying!
But today, the Oscars feel like that one rock band from the 70s, still clinging to their glory days, touring county fairs, struggling to hit the high notes, and pretending the crowd isn't half empty. The spectacle is there, but the soul, long gone. Once, it was a night of raw emotion, surprise victories, and speeches that left a mark. Now, we get stiff political monologues, hosts who bomb harder than box office flops, and winners from movies nobody outside of film Twitter has even heard of. So, what the hell happened? How did Hollywood's biggest night go from unmissable to unwatchable? And more importantly, can it still be saved, or is this just the final act in a long, slow fade out? Grab your popcorn, let's find out. Let's rewind to a time when the Oscars were actually cool. The year, 1973. Marlon Brando wins Best Actor for The Godfather, one of the greatest films ever made. Instead of showing up, he sends Sachin Littlefeather, an indigenous activist, to decline the award in protest of Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans.
Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
Now that was drama. Controversial? Absolutely. But at least it meant something. The Oscars weren't just a stage for carefully rehearsed, PR-approved speeches. They were a place where real, culture-shifting moments happened. Moments people actually talked about the next day. Rewind even further, to the very first Oscars in 1929. No TV cameras, no viral moments. Just a private dinner at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, where winners already knew they had won. No theatrics, just pure celebration of film.
Please forgive me if my words are inadequate in thanking you for your very great kindness.
Over the decades, the Oscars grew into the pinnacle of artistic excellence. Winning wasn't just an honor, it was cinematic immortality. And people cared because the movies mattered. Gone with the Wind, 1939, Casablanca, 1942, The Godfather, 1972, Schindler's List, 1993. These weren't just films, they were cultural landmarks. Winning an Oscar meant your film was part of history, not just a footnote in a Twitter debate. And it wasn't just about black and white classics. In 2004, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, made history by winning 11 Oscars, proving that a blockbuster could be both a commercial hit and an artistic triumph. Or take 1998, the Oscars at their absolute peak. Titanic dominated the night, and James Cameron, fresh off his record-breaking win, stood on stage, held up his Oscar, and shouted,
"I'm the king of the world!"
An iconic moment. Over the top? Absolutely. But it was real. A filmmaker celebrating his passion at a time when the Oscars still felt like a global event that everyone cared about. And for a brief second, that global magic returned in 2014, when host Ellen DeGeneres took a star-studded selfie featuring Meryl Streep, Jennifer Lawrence, and Bradley Cooper. It wasn't just a fun moment, it became the viral image of the year, shared millions of times. For that one night, the Oscars didn't feel out of touch. They felt connected to the world again. Fast forward to today, and the Oscars feel like a show caught in an identity crisis. They want to be prestigious, but also popular, exclusive, but also inclusive, traditional, but also trendy. And in trying to be everything at once, they've ended up being nothing special at all. The first signs of change didn't happen overnight. It was a slow shift. In 2009, the Academy made what seemed like a bold move, expanding the Best Picture category from 5 to 10 nominees. The idea, to include more mainstream hits and reconnect with audiences. The result? Not exactly what they hoped for. Instead of making the Oscars more accessible, it led to an era of predictable, formulaic nominees, otherwise known as Oscar bait. You know the type. A slow, serious drama, preferably based on a historical event, featuring an actor undergoing an extreme physical transformation. Bonus points if the movie is inspirational but not too controversial. The King's Speech, 2010, The Theory of Everything, 2014, The Danish Girl, 2015. We're looking at you. Meanwhile, actual cultural phenomena were ignored. The Dark Knight, 2008, redefined modern cinema. Nope, no Best Picture nod. But The Reader, 2008, A movie you've either never seen or completely forgot about somehow got in. The Oscars weren't rewarding impact anymore. They were rewarding a checklist. And that disconnect didn't stop there. Then came the 2011 Oscars, hosted by James Franco and Anne Hathaway. On paper, it sounded fresh and exciting. In execution, a disaster. Franco looked like he had wandered in from a college dorm, and Hathaway was trying so hard to overcompensate that it felt like watching a group project where one person does all the work.
And welcome to the 83rd Annual Academy Awards!
The Oscars wanted to appeal to a younger crowd, but ended up alienating everyone. But the real breaking point, the growing divide between the Academy and the audience. The Oscars used to celebrate films people actually watched. Somewhere along the way, that balance was lost. Instead of honoring the best movies, they started honoring movies that fit the right narrative. It didn't matter if a film was beloved, groundbreaking, or even widely seen. As long as it checked the right boxes, it had a shot. Then came 2015 to 2016. Enter drastic Oscar so white, a hashtag that turned into a full-blown PR nightmare. 2 years in a row, not a single actor of color was nominated in the 4 acting categories.
The makeup of the Academy is overwhelmingly white.
The backlash was massive. A-listers like Spike Lee and Will Smith boycotted the ceremony. The Academy scrambled to fix its image, but the damage was already done. Their response? A major overhaul of the voting body, inviting a more diverse group of industry professionals to join. And to be fair, change did happen. Movies like Moonlight, 2016, Black Panther, 2018, and Parasite, 2019, broke through. But was this genuine progress or just damage control? Even today, the debate continues. And then, 2017. The Oscars were already losing credibility. But Envelopegate, the fiasco where La La Land was mistakenly announced as Best Picture instead of Moonlight, only made things worse. One simple job, read the correct winner. And yet live on TV, in front of millions, the biggest blunder in Oscar history unfolded.
La La Land.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
It wasn't just embarrassing, it was symbolic. A night that once felt polished and prestigious now felt chaotic and amateurish. That moment wasn't just a screw-up, it was a metaphor for the Oscars as a whole. Snubs, PR disasters, awkward hosting choices. What was once a night of pure cinematic magic had started feeling more like an overproduced, out-of-touch spectacle. The Academy kept shifting, desperately trying to stay relevant, but instead of regaining prestige, they seemed to be losing their identity. The hosts changed, the categories changed, the speeches got longer, and the ratings got lower. Each year, new gimmicks were introduced in the hopes of recapturing old glory. Shorter runtime.
Thank you.
No host, more diverse nominees.
Mom, I just want an Oscar.
But nothing really worked. At this point, watching the Oscars felt less like an event and more like an obligation. People weren't tuning in to celebrate film. They were tuning in for the awkward moments, the controversies, and the inevitable Twitter debates. The Academy wasn't leading the film industry anymore. It was chasing it, desperately trying to keep up with a world that had already moved on. Hollywood scandals, they come and go, but some leave a permanent mark. And for the Oscars, the past few years haven't just been rough, they've been humiliating. It's one thing to be criticized, it's another to become the punchline of your own show. If the Oscars were already slipping, 2017 kicked the door wide open. The Me Too movement didn't just expose individual predators, it pulled back the curtain on an industry that had protected them for decades. Silence was no longer an option, and the Academy found itself at the center of the reckoning. Harvey Weinstein, once the kingmaker of Oscar campaigns, was expelled. Bill Cosby and Roman Polanski followed, though in Polanski's case, it was nearly 40 years after his conviction. The message? The Academy was finally cleaning house. But the changes didn't stop there. The Oscars themselves started to shift. The old guard of voters, largely older, white, and male, was being replaced by a younger, more diverse group. Red carpet interviews moved from "Who are you wearing?" to "What statement are you making?" Every speech, every award, scrutinized. Suddenly, the Oscars weren't just about celebrating film anymore, they were playing defense. And in trying to fix its past, the Academy struggled to define its future. Then came 2018. In a desperate attempt to stay relevant, they proposed a popular film category. The idea, finally give blockbuster hits like Black Panther a chance. The reaction, disaster. People saw it as a participation trophy, an attempt to throw mainstream films a bone without actually giving them a shot at Best Picture. The backlash was so intense that the Academy scrapped the idea before it even started. Meanwhile, the hosting problem reached new levels of awkward. Kevin Hart was announced as host, until old tweets resurfaced, leading to his removal. The result? The first hostless Oscars in decades. And when the ratings barely changed, the Academy made a stunning realization. Maybe they didn't need a host at all. By 2021, things had gone from bad to worse. The pandemic forced a stripped-down, intimate Oscar ceremony. Translation: the most boring Oscars ever. No grand stage, no big audience, just an awkwardly quiet room. And to top it off, the night ended on what was supposed to be a powerful moment. Best Actor announced last, with the expectation that Chadwick Boseman would win posthumously. Instead, Anthony Hopkins won, and wasn't even there to accept it.
Anthony Hopkins, the father.
The show didn't just fizzle out, it collapsed into an anticlimax of epic proportions. But then came 2022, the moment that truly shattered whatever credibility the Oscars had left. The moment that turned Hollywood's biggest night into an unplanned reality TV meltdown. Will Smith, Chris Rock, the slap.
Oh, wow! Wow!
You know it. You've seen it. It wasn't just the first time an assault happened live on the Oscars stage. It was the first time the Oscars lost control of their own show in real time.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
And the reaction? A complete disaster. Smith wasn't removed, he wasn't disqualified. Instead, he won Best Actor minutes later, gave a tearful, applause-filled speech, and walked away with an Oscar and a 10-year ban. The Academy's response was so chaotic, it felt like they were making up the rules as they went. It wasn't just a scandal, it became the defining moment of the night. Not the winners, not the movies, just the slap. A meme, a controversy, and a moment that made everyone ask, what even are the Oscars anymore? So, where are we now? 2023 saw some improvements. Jimmy Kimmel returned as host, the ratings ticked up slightly, and the chaos of previous years seemed under control. But let's be honest, the Oscars still aren't what they used to be. The real problem, it's not just the scandals, it's not just the speeches, it's that the Oscars feel disconnected. The films that get nominated, most people haven't seen them. The speeches, often predictable, often political, and rarely spontaneous. The show itself, still too long, still too slow, and still struggling to figure out what it wants to be. The Academy knows this. That's why they keep experimenting. More celebrity presenters, more extravagant performances. More desperate attempts at viral moments, yet the cultural impact remains small. The Oscars have tried everything. More international nominees, more pop culture nods, Barbenheimer. But the audience still checked out. The ratings may have stabilized, but at a fraction of what they once were. The old grandeur, gone. It's not that people don't love movies anymore. They just don't need the Oscars to tell them which ones matter. Social media, Letterboxd, film podcasts, and YouTube critics shape the conversation now. Streaming platforms don't need a Best Picture win to sell subscriptions. Hollywood isn't the center of the universe anymore. It's just one of many entertainment options in an era where content is infinite. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the Oscars routinely drew over 40 million viewers, their peak being in 1998, when Titanic fever helped them hit 55 million. Today, they struggle to hit 20 million, not because movies are worse, not because people don't care about film, but because the Oscars feel like a relic, desperately trying to stay relevant in an industry that has already moved on. So, is there hope? Can the Oscars regain their former glory? Or are they destined to be a relic of the past, like silent films and DVD rentals? The truth is, the industry has changed. The way people watch movies has changed. Maybe the Oscars aren't dying. They're just evolving into something else. But here's the real question. Do audiences still care? Maybe the Oscars will shrink into something smaller, more niche, like the Tonys for theater lovers or the Grammys for die-hard music fans. Maybe they'll lean further into the spectacle, bigger stunts, bigger performances, bigger everything. Or maybe in 10 years, the Oscars will be hosted in the metaverse with AI-generated child winners. And at that point, the biggest question won't be who wins. It'll be, does anyone even remember that the Oscars are happening? But hey, maybe we're wrong. Maybe the Oscars will make a miraculous comeback. Maybe next year's show will be the best one yet. Or maybe we'll just be here again, roasting them all over again. Speaking of things that actually matter, you know what never loses relevance? Hitting that like button, subscribing, leaving a comment about your favorite Oscars disaster. It won't fix the Academy, but hey, at least it'll help the algorithm, and who knows? Maybe if this video gets enough attention, they'll nominate it for Best Picture.